What's up, gang? Welcome to The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius. I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now listen, The Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi, as I say, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. Guys, welcome to this episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius, and boy, do we have some special guests. Alexis and Kymber McClay are in the house. What's up, ladies?
Hello. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, so glad to have you guys. Hi, Alexis.
Hi.
Yeah,
ready to do a deep dive. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So you guys, everyone, the listeners know what's up. The audience knows that I am like the most selfish human being on earth. So, so I was like, I'm always out there searching for folks that are doing cool stuff in the world of longevity and fitness. And I came across are you guys identical twins or fraternal?
I'm 56 seconds older, so as identical as you can get, really.
All right. So Alexis, you and I share in common that we are the older twins. And so I have a twin, as everyone knows. I'm fraternal, though, with my twin. And so I saw these two twins, identical, who were doing some awesome work in the world of longevity, fitness, fashion. I was like, oh, man, I want to learn more about them and what they're doing. So like I always do, we got them on the list. They so graciously accepted to come on the show. And here we are today. So pumped to have you guys here. Thank you guys so much for coming on The Greatness Machine.
Yeah. Of course. Excited to be here.
All right. So offline, I told them that I had a really interesting story to tell them. So ladies, you guys ready for my interesting and
a little nervous and also ready. What is this going to be?
Okay.
Anticipation is real for sure.
So two weeks ago today, at nighttime-ish, I'm standing at the bar at my camp at Burning Man called Ashram Galactica. And this woman walks up to me with a pink wig. And I start chatting with her. And she tells me that she's a twin. And I asked her if she's ever had a twin moment before. And so, and then she goes and dances with her friends, a couple of guys from LA. I go and dance with them a little bit. And then, fast forward, I get home from Burning Man. I'm sick. I'm like in bed sick for a few days. And I finally come to life at the end of last week. I go to see what my schedule is for this week. And I see that I'm interviewing Kymber and Alexis.
Yes.
And so I go on Instagram just to see, just remind myself and do some research. And I see this video of Burning Man. I'm like, oh, wow. Kymber went to Burning Man. And I see an image of Kymber wearing a pink wig in ashram. God. And I'm like, holy fuck. That's the person. Is that crazy?
Yes, that is absolutely crazy. And I was only there for 3 days. So the fact that you ran into me, that was my first day there, actually. First time in 11 years that I have not gone to Burning Man too. And I missed that opportunity. What a crazy story.
Kymber, do you remember meeting me at the bar?
Yes, I do. But now it's all making sense. Wow, that is so crazy. There was so much going on. It was my first day there. So this is kind of a crazy story. My RV didn't show up, had all my food in it. I had 3 girls waiting for me for the RV. I realized at that moment when I got in, I think we waited 6 hours in line, that I had nowhere to sleep and no food. But being my 13th burn and being Canadian and so resilient, I was like, I'm going to crush it regardless, and figured it out. But that was kind of the first moments when I ran into you. So lots going on. That's so funny.
Right? I sat there on this Sunday or Saturday, and I'm like, and Alexis, by the way, emails me Sunday night to get some prep for the show, and I'm like, should I tell them now? And I'm like, and then I'm doing the math. I'm like, okay, what the hell are the odds that I book a show with you guys months and months ago? I go to Burning Man. I run into you for maybe we had 3-minute conversation.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds? There's 70,000 people at Burning Man.
I think there's 80,000 people. And the thing is, we actually scheduled this conversation to make sure it didn't coincide with Burning Man, and I'm sure you did too. So very funny.
Here it was like the playa provides, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's so small, right? So I told my wife, I'm like, you want to see a crazy story? And I screenshotted because it's like the video with you at the pink wig is very like brief. It's like a compilation video, and I'm like, do you remember her? I met her at the bar because my wife was standing right next to me. You met her briefly, and I'm like, I'm interviewing her and her sister on Tuesday.
Great. Oh, funny. Wow.
So
you're meant to meet.
There you go. Exactly. So you guys, I want to give the audience a little bit of your formal bio. And if you guys don't mind, I would love to jump right into your guys' origin story. Like, how did you guys get to where you got to? Does that work for you?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm going to do a formal bio. Then we'll do that. Is that good?
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, cool. So you guys, today, like I said, we're joined by Kymber and Alexis McClay, aka the Naven twins. They're co-founders of Naven, which is a brand that they've had for a while, which is in the fashion and world, as well as founders of Koa Life. We're going to be learning all about the different businesses they've started, but really impressive background. And most recently, you guys co-founded the Naven Method, which is your longevity and wellness product. Would love to, obviously you didn't wake up one day and get into all this stuff. I'd love to hear some of your origin story. You guys are twins, identical twins. What I forgot to mention also is I've been business partners with my fraternal twin brother now since we were 20 years old. So like we've been lifelong business partners. In fact, right now is one of the few times we've not been partners because I just exited the company we co-founded together. But would love to hear, did you guys always do business together? How did you guys get to where you got to? Would love to hear some of your origin story.
Definitely. It's crazy looking back now, but we've been entrepreneurs for almost 20 years now, and everything we have created in business has been together. And that's a testament to, I guess, our relationship and friendship, because most siblings would probably end up killing each other. But we tend to do kind of polar ends of each company that we get into. But to rewind way, way, way back, we're originally from Vancouver, Canada, and we grew up athletes. So we competed in swimming, we were in soccer, horseback riding, gymnastics, a golf team, everything you can think of in Canada. That's what Canadians do. We were such tomboys and just athletes. So we feel like we've been kind of biohacking and training our entire life. So we have that background of being super competitive, of optimizing our body from a young age. We also watched my parents, and specifically my father, become a really successful entrepreneur. He sold his gold mining company for 100 million plus, raised about $1 billion on the New York Stock Exchange, had thousands of employees. So when we were little kids, we would literally, instead of playing with Barbies like most girls would, we'd go to his office and play boss or play entrepreneurs and go boss around all the employees. And it was, I'm sure, cute at the time, but we got the bug for like what's possible as an entrepreneur. And so we knew, I think from a young age, that we wanted to do that. But I went to Pepperdine and Kymber went to design school. We kind of took our own paths for a while. She can tell her story in fashion. I did my story in marketing. So we kind of like left that dream for a while when we moved from Canada to the US. And then we came together in about, I think it was 2006 or 7, we came together and decided we wanted to quit our jobs and shift gears and start our first company together. But Kymber was working at a design firm and she did her thing. She can tell her story. And I actually interned for her before we started our first company together.
About that. Those were the days when I got to boss you around.
I don't like that now.
That does not work. She thinks she's boss now, but I let her believe it. I moved to Los Angeles straight from Canada, straight from high school. When I was 18, I went to FITM and I got my bachelor's degree. I was on the expedited program. I got sponsored. I was working on a student visa and then got sponsored. And I took over the design department for this really big denim company at 20. I traveled all over Europe, all over Asia, and really saw the ins and outs of the industry and how to design. I love designing. I love creating. A lot of what I do in our current business and both of our businesses is all about the product development and creating product, creating protocols. It's just something that I love to do. It's all based around creativity. So really was gearing up to start my own company. And then I later on got my visa and green card and loved working in design, convinced my sister to start a company with me in design. And that's how Naven, our clothing brand, the inception of Naven, came about. And that blew up really quickly. It was super authentic to who we were, what we were doing at the time. We were super social. We were dressing all these socialites and young Hollywood at the time when Hollywood was really booming. And there was such a great nightlife. So we were designing cute cocktail dresses, cutout dresses, really beautiful tailored hand pieces. And we would have big fashion shows and throw a ton of events. And then we later signed a deal with Revolve Clothing and ended up doing a collaboration with them and a line with them for almost 7 years and loved that. It was fantastic. We partnered with them with all their influencers. They took care of the production and manufacturing. We did all the design. We were the face of the company. It was so much fun. I absolutely love working with them. And then COVID hit. Yeah. And the fashion industry just completely shut down for months. We weren't really sure which direction we were going to go in. And we had already started our skincare brand. So that's our design background. Lex, you can get into Koa if you want.
Yeah. And what's actually really, just really quick, one thing I always say to people that want to become entrepreneurs and inspirational, like when we first started Naven, I had a business plan. I raised $10,000 and I thought I was going to start a t-shirt brand. I started it in my apartment. My best friend was our first employee. Yeah. We literally would fake sales calls and customer service calls, pretending to be multiple people. And we grew it to a multi-million-dollar company. We're in 500 stores, dressing every A-list celebrity from starting it in our apartment. So just like a little inspiration for people, you can take your business anywhere if you have the drive and the motivation. So it's funny now to go back and think about how that actually started.
Yeah, I love that. I have a former coach who was Lance Armstrong's coach, and he has a saying which is action organizes. So it's the fact that you took that first step sets you up to have to fake it till you make it, do the things that we do as young entrepreneurs. So kudos to you guys. I have a couple questions, just like first and foremost, going back to the family background. You guys have any other siblings, or is it just the two of you?
We have us. There's 5 of us.
Oh, there's 5? Okay, 5.
My dad had kids with a few women. He's quite the ladies' man. We have an older brother who still lives in Canada. His name's Kevin. A younger brother who's 20. He's from Germany. Smartest young man you'll meet. He's just an incredible person. And a younger sister. She lives in London. Her name's Chloe. She's an actress. She's 30. And then my sister and I.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're all kind of spread out all over the place, a lot in Europe and then one in Canada.
So growing up, like seeing your father, I mean, that's really interesting, especially your father is in the gold business, mining business. It's watching him, build a company. And I'm asking for this selfishly because my kids have seen me build a lot of companies, and I'm curious, and my dad was an entrepreneur, wasn't as successful as I've been. But when you guys think back to watching your dad build businesses, I remember thinking to myself, most of my friends' parents weren't entrepreneurs. They grew up with their parents being lawyers or doctors or teachers or whatever. And for me, I was like, oh yeah, you just run your own business. And it never really occurred to me to have a job. I always just knew I was going to become an entrepreneur. Did you guys know at a young age that you would become entrepreneurs?
Oh, yeah. I think we knew since we were little kids. We would set up forts and fake stores in our playroom and be playing entrepreneur and boss. It was almost like it was our dharma. It was in our blood. But the interesting thing about my dad, and important to go back to his origin story just really quick, is he grew up super poor, had 5 brothers. His parents died young. And so he really had to take care of the family. And he started as a professional boxer, heavyweight, undefeated champion, turned hippie, living in a commune in San Francisco against the man, to becoming a corporate kind of guru. So we watched him basically when we were young have absolutely nothing, sleep on the floor of his office, spend his life savings with my mom's life savings to start his company. So it's not like we stepped into something that was kind of given to him or to us. We really saw what it took and the grit it took to build something and that dedication. And I think we learned it from sports, but we also really learned it from him. My mom was also an entrepreneur. She had a shop in our home. She designed jewelry. So everywhere we would look, there was people really motivated and in this like go, go, go kind of mentality. So I think we always had that in us from just like our bloodline.
Yeah. In addition, being an athlete growing up in competitive sports, we were so driven physically. And I think it has to do with the mental state as well, that like drive that you and that responsibility you get from a really young age.
Yeah, so it's so funny you saying that, Kymber. I was just thinking as you were saying it that so I was a college athlete too. My brother was my twin brother was not a super athletic person. He became more athletic as he grew up, but as an adult. But like as a kid, I was a hardcore athlete, and it was funny when I've explained this to people, and you kind of just touched on it, which I said like my business then was sports. Like I was just like fanatical about whatever. And for me, I was a wrestler. So I was like, wrestling was my business. Like that's all I just woke up until I went to bed. That's all I cared about. And then once I got out of university, I was like, well, yeah, like that doesn't age very well, by the way, unless you want to go into like the UFC or something like that. And so for me, it was while I was in university is when I started doing, we started our first like real businesses where we were like making or losing money. Sounds like, so you guys took different paths into Southern California, one through the FITM, one through Pepperdine. When you guys like, was fashion something? By the way, my sister is a fashion designer in LA. So I have a question for you. When you said denim company, which denim company was it?
It was called Lawman Sportswear. They're still around. They've got department stores in Asia, a few different collections.
Cool. So the reason I'd asked that is she was a women's wear designer. She was a women's wear designer for True Religion in LA. This is like back at like 15, 20 years ago. So or when she got out of, I guess, fashion school in like the early 2010s.
True Religion is trending again, by the way. I feel like that 90s kind of look is coming back full circle.
Oh no, it's like Affliction t-shirts are coming back next.
Yeah, 2010, 2011 was the hottest time in fashion in LA. That's kind of when we blew up too. And you were in that scene, the True Religion scene. That was kind of your denim world.
It totally was. I worked for Von Dutch for a while, cutting T-shirts with Adam Sachs. We were with Von Dutch. Same. I think True Religion was their competition, so we were always kind of knocking each other off.
That's so cool. So you guys originally got into fashion. That's a cut. I mean, my observation. My sister worked for True Religion. She worked for Rag and Bone. She worked for a lot of like big brands. She went to Parsons in New York, and then came to LA and was doing that. And watching that. I mean, my observation was that's a fucking cutthroat business. Like, and there's a guy, I don't know if you guys follow Scott Galloway or if you're familiar with his work, Prof G, but this is a guy, he has a great big podcast, but he's a smart guy. He's a professor at NYU. And he talks about these industries like the entertainment industry is one, fashion would be another example, sports would be another example, where there's like basically 99% unemployment, right? It's super hard to get into. There's for every one person that you hear about, there's 99 people that maybe are in it that you don't hear about, or 99,000, depending on the industry. And then there's another 100,000 that like wishes they could even get into it, right? So there's plenty of people to take your spot. And my observation with that, especially in fashion, was, man, it's hard to make money because like the reality is like someone's always there to take your spot. And so if you don't want to do it, somebody else will do it. And I guess that's the power of brand. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts around the experience of being in that type of a cutthroat industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tough industry, and there's a lot of men in the industry, and you wouldn't really assume that. But if behind the curtains, behind the scenes, it's just dominated by men. And I think that was probably the hardest thing, is trying to prove yourself as two young female entrepreneurs. But what really set us apart is just how authentic the collection was. It really was us. It embodies where we were at in life. For me, I've been designing since I was in high school. I started a tailor shop in high school. I was hand making wedding dresses. I understand the construction, how to make a garment. I understand every angle of it because I've been doing it so long. And I started off doing my tailor shop and then transitioned into activewear, snowboarding, clothes, jackets, everything that I was doing in my life. And then as I transitioned and got a little bit older, I was wearing these party dresses, and I created the first cutout dress. So it was so authentic to what we were doing and where we were going in life that I really think it set us apart. And then being two of us, we just had a little bit of an edge there. And
I also think, like, to add to your point about what's important in an industry like that, this was before Instagram or direct to consumer was really big when we launched, and it was all about relationships. Like, we would meet one-on-one with buyers. And the second that we got into Neiman Marcus, which was a big box retailer, and we developed and nurtured a relationship, and we got this reputation for being like great founders to work with, because, you know, we would go the extra mile, we would give the discounts, we were happy, we were nice to be around in an industry where people normally are not really the friendliest. It's known for that. It was all about relationships and nurturing those connections. And then we kind of had that trickle effect where we got into other big stores. So once you get your foot in the door in one good big relationship, it opened the doors for other big relationships like Saks and Bloomingdale's and Macy's and the other stores that we started selling in. And then it kind of took off from there. We also had, and Kim, I always call the product guru, we had this one style that just, you would say now went viral, but it was before Instagram. It was so just caught fire on the red carpet. We designed the first cutout dress, and we had Kristen Cavallari wear it for the first time on the red carpet. And then the Kardashians and J-Lo and Jessica Alba and all of the big ones, all the A-listers. And so we had one SKU that kind of took off, and then we got our foot in the door in some good department stores. So we kind of, I wouldn't say lucked out, but we had the right product at the right time with the right relationships and the right attitude. And it got us ahead of the curve, because 2008 was not a good time for the economy, but we were able to kind of overcome that. And so it kind of just caught like wildfire until COVID, obviously. So we didn't necessarily have that experience where it was so hard, because we found something kind of earlier on in LA and sort of were able to kind of negotiate through that hard time in a way.
Were you guys, so I have a question about your guys' partnership, but I have one more question regarding the business, and I want to go to the partnership. Were you guys working like with a lot of people's, a lot of these celebrities will hire someone that helps them dress, and I'm forgetting the name of what you call this person, you'll know.
Stylist,
right? Yeah, I'm like, I was like, my brain kept saying publicist. I'm like, dude, it's not publicist. It's an ist. You have the wrong one right now. So were you guys working with stylists? Like, how were you guys getting your fashion like in front of these celebrities?
So we had a phenomenal publicist and PR firm. I think Barry Goldfarb. I think she's still in the industry. She's OG. She was the best. And I know, she was amazing. She was kind of like the Devil Wears Prada, definitely like her, Anna Wintour and that. But anyways, she worked with all the celebrity stylists. So to kind of get to the celebrity, unless you had that relationship, you would go through our PR agent, who would go through the celebrity stylist, who would dress the celebrities. And it's a small world. It really is. It's a small industry. So when you're in. So you just really have to get your foot in the door with the right people. So you do have to kind of pay to play. It was expensive to have this PR firm, but they definitely had the relationships. Again, it's like all about relationships, really.
Yeah, and then we were also going to all of the events. We were the customers, so we were wearing the dresses that we're promoting at the events. So it was so authentic to what we were doing. We were making those connections. We were meeting all of the young celebrities. So it wasn't just PR; it was a combination of everything. And then we were, great at networking, because we're there showing up, and there's two of us, so you kind of remember, the Naven twins and their bright cutout dresses, and they're at the party. So I think a combination of everything really helped us succeed and push us forward.
So a quick question, and I meant to ask this earlier in the show, where did the name Naven come from?
So my family is from Naven, Ireland, and we wanted something that was really rooted in our relationship as twins and as family. So we got the inspiration from there.
I love that. My first company was called Twin Capital. So,
oh wow,
yeah.
You went all the way.
I went full. There was a company called Twin Labs. I don't know if you guys remember them. They were like this really popular supplement company, and I had read the story of this is like OG GNC, like 1990s, and like I was into like I was really into like fitness then as a young athlete, and I would buy their products. And I did some research on the story. The story was they were like the number one supplement company in like the early like 1990s and early 2000s, and having been a buyer of their products, I'd seen that So where'd the name come from? And I'm like, oh, this guy, the founder, had 2 twin sons. And so he named the company after his children. And I was like, oh, so I named my first company after me and my brother. So going back to, so first of all, this is a fun question. Like the LA scene, the celebrity, this whole like LA Hollywood scene can be, a lot and can be a lot of fun too. I mean, you guys being identical twins in your early 20s, like, do you guys have any like salacious or fun stories that you'd be willing to share?
We can tell on this podcast.
Yeah,
Probably not. It was a wild time, honestly, in Hollywood. Everything you see in the movies actually happened, which kind of led us segued to starting a wellness and longevity company, honestly, because
20s.
Yeah, in our 20s, we were out every single night, hanging out with celebrities at the Roosevelt. All the things you possibly could think happened. And we were also up super early. We had a team of 40 people, 40 employees. So we were up at 6, managing a team, and then having to show face and go out and really be a part of that scene, which was great for our business. It was such a good time. But eventually your body starts to experience burnout, and burnout was what led us to really start to shift our focus into longevity, rather than continue in a scene that isn't really sustainable forever.
No.
And it's not only, we were also pushing our bodies really hard because we're athletes. We work out. Can't even remember more than a week that I haven't worked out in the last 20 years. So we're pushing our body. We're waking up early. We're going out late at night. We're kind of burning the candle at both ends. So it was, at some point your body just catches up and it's like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm going to propose that you guys write a book about your early 20s because the world wants to know. At least I do. So like pivoting to your guys' relationship as entrepreneurs. So as I mentioned, my brother and I have been business partners for over 20 years. Early on, we started our first company like at 20. And that one, it was a club promotion business in Hollywood, believe it or not. But yeah, it was. There was a place called, I don't even know if it was around, called the Knitting Factory. Did you guys ever go there on Hollywood Boulevard?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we used to do like house parties there. We would bring in DJs from like Chicago, New York. And so anyway, that we were actually pretty good business partners there. When we started our first business that really took off, we'd started a mortgage lending company that we grew from ourselves to 150 employees in like 3 years. And we fought we fought a lot growing up. We're two like big guys, but we would like throw down like literally fist fights. And I was the CEO of the company. My brother's the president, and he's like the sales guy, and I'm like kind of like the operator. But I mean, looking back, I was like, I couldn't imagine working for a company where the two owners are fighting like that. And so, over the years, like we've grown up a lot and we've learned how to work together with each other. But I think a big part of that, and I think this is true of all good partnerships, is people find their roles. They figure out what's their swim lane. And for us, it was like respecting each other's swim lane and not interfering. How did you guys do that? I mean, being siblings, growing up, I know exactly what that's like. And I'm going to tell you, the audience, like for me and my brother, like there were some points where we had a couple year period when we sold our last company where we barely talked because we were like so over each other. I would love to hear how you guys have managed to navigate that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. People don't understand also what it's like to be a twin. They just see, this fun, entertaining, like you guys are twins, but it's such a complex relationship. There's so many layers to it. It's like a platonic marriage, essentially your entire life. So you have to learn to communicate or you're not going to survive it. And we definitely had our chapters where when we were younger and we were maybe a little more reactive instead of responsive and didn't really know how to communicate properly. We still, like 80% of the time now, we're great. 20% of the time, there is some bickering involved, but we had phases where we also didn't talk and the pressure was so intense from being an entrepreneur. We didn't have the communication skills. So number one is we did Landmark and MIT. I did MITT. We did a ton of personal development, so much personal development. And we also just did some twin therapy, learn how to talk through things. And it's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect, but it's gotten so much better over the years that we're able to speak through things a little bit better. And then we do completely separate ends of the company. Kymber has always been the designer, the product guru. I actually worked at a cancer research lab and have always been, I guess, sort of like the science nerd and more into the business side. So we're lucky in that regard that we don't step on each other's toes as far as like daily duties. But I definitely think it took a lot of time and experience and just testing out different roles and dynamics in the company to be able to figure out how to create boundaries, I guess, and how to turn off work from personal. Because that's the other thing is like the biggest issue would be who's the boss, right?
Yeah,
because
I'm gonna say that.
We come from a family of, my parents are both Leos. Obviously, my dad, you can tell, they call him the chief, right? So we come from a kind of hot-headed, I'm the boss family on both ends, and then we think we're the boss. So who is really the boss, and what ownership are we claiming in the roles and the duties in the company? So I think once we established that a little bit more and gave each other space, we were able to get rid of the bickering and that sort of thing. But I think for me, at least, that was the biggest clarity that I got over the years.
Yeah.
What about you, Alexis? How do you feel about this? I'm sorry, Kymber. Excuse me.
Are you mixing us up?
No. I was doing something. Sorry. Go ahead.
I totally agree with my sister. It wasn't even about work. We work so well together because we do separate parts of the company and we just brainstorm so well together. And even if we have separate ideas or different opinions about things, we're usually on the same page. That sort of like bickering would always come from a personal side. And it was when we were younger and we didn't know. I think it was more about like managing the company and managing people, managing our time. And we would struggle between being stubborn, who's right and wrong. But as you get older and you mature and all the work we've done on ourselves, it's shifted into, I think, like the perfect, healthy working dynamic. And I mean, that was a long process, but we're definitely there. And I love working with her. We've created all of our businesses together. So obviously something's working.
But one big takeaway in this is true for romantic relationships and also platonic and working relationships. You have to have times outside of work where you're building and bonding together. So for us, hot yoga, working out, going on our hikes, being active outside, those were the times where we were just doing things together that weren't for making money. They were just to spend time together, to process together, to do something fun and healthy together as a team, like as teammates. And then we would go back into work and feel like we kind of got that time that was like replenishing and good for our relationship. And it would give us, I think, like an extra boost of energy and like positivity when we went back to work.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Kymber.
Part of that is we're both very spiritual, kind of in different ways, but we have our own spiritual practices and we did a lot of ceremonies together. I started doing ceremonies about 15 years ago almost. And I think that healed our relationship. We had a period of time where we didn't speak for 3 years. We were younger it was over a guy. Silly.
Dated the same guy.
Oh, wait. You guys were
pass over that story.
High school.
Oh my God, you're killing me.
We were dating this guy. His name was Luke. He's older than us. I think we were 16 or 17 at the time. He was 25. He was a snowboarder, pro snowboarder, very cute Canadian Vancouver guy. And he was dating both of us. Early stages of dating, and we found out about it. And of course, my sister blamed me. I blamed her. She ended up dating him for 4 years. He ended up being bad news. Go figure.
Yeah, no way. I can't believe
Things
that.
not to do. Yeah. It's going to go in the book. The whole story will go in my book.
That goes in the book for sure.
We didn't speak for 3 years. We maybe saw each other at Christmas occasionally. I moved to the States and my sister was in Canada still. And I got in a really bad car accident getting onto the freeway, going in the freeway in Santa Monica. A bus hit my car and my car was totaled, spun around. It was on the on-ramp. Had it been 20 seconds later, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. My sister called me the second it happened. The airbag went off. My phone went flying. I hear my phone ringing. And my sister called me. She just knew something had happened to me. We hadn't spoken in months. And after that, we just decided to squash everything. And she moved to LA, got into Pepperdine. We started our business together. So that was kind of the start of that.
Matching twin tattoos. which
Yeah.
I also, we got removed later on because they were kind of cheesy. But have you had those ESP moments as a fraternal twin ever with your brother?
So this was the question I asked Kymber when I met her at the bar. I was like, I called it twin moments. Yeah, no. It like for me, and it like what you were just saying. That usually it was with the phone. So my brother was living in San Luis Obispo, and I went to UC Davis, and there was like we would call like it would always happen where we would call each other and get a busy signal at the exact same time. This is like
You were calling each other? Oh.
This is in the 90s, right? So like we're like 18 and like I'm like, why am I getting a busy signal? I call him again and get a busy signal. And then finally like one of us would be off by a second. And he's like, dude, I was just calling you. So that's that. We've had those. We've had the ones where like, hey, I felt like something bad just happened, and then we found out like something had happened to another. So yeah, no, they're real. Like that.
ESP
like,
is a real thing.
Yeah, totally.
It's like that quantum entanglement. It's all real. We've experienced it a lot.
So
the more ceremonies and spiritual practice that we do, especially together, the more connected we are, and these things start to happen. Like we'll start humming a song at the same time, just make up a song and start humming it and look at each other. This is insane. We're thinking the same thing. We don't even really need to verbally communicate. We can look at each other and know exactly what we're thinking. We'll have a conversation in our head. Sometimes friends get a little bit annoyed because they know we're talking not about them necessarily, but about the situation without actually having to verbally speak.
I love that. Yeah, no, I understand 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to gloss over this just because we talk about this subject on the show a fair amount. When you say ceremonies, are you talking about like plant medicine, or are you talking about other stuff? All right, cool.
Yeah. We started a long time ago, 15, 16 years ago. Interesting. My older brother, who lives in Canada, he's always been very spiritual. He used to actually grow psychedelics in our backyard when we were young. No. He was a philosopher, played guitar, just like such just amazing intellectual and like sapiosexual and just savant, and so we used to go and sit in his room and hear all these stories about indigenous tribes doing plant medicine and like opening up consciousness and expanding the mind. So we always kind of had that seed in our mind that we wanted to do it one day. But when we started, we had a few dark times in our life that were pretty challenging, and I wanted to do ayahuasca. I had always known about it. And of course, my sister's like, you're not doing it without me. I want you to be safe. If something happens to you, I have to be there. So we end up doing it. And I was at this time in my life where I was really pushing the limits in every single way. And you wouldn't think about it now because I look pretty conservative, but I was always like, let's go, let's like shoot out to outer space. I want to be one with God. I want to see what's possible. And I was always pushing the limits, and I was always like looking for more instead of seeing what I actually had right in front of me. So when I did it for the first time, I asked for like a 10 out of 10 serving. So the strongest dose you could do, and completely blew my mind. I was in another world, and it was a challenging ceremony, but it was so amazing. I connected with my spirit guides and was able to process all the parts of my life that were not making sense. And my sister, of course, she like didn't really want to be there at first, but she wanted the spiritual experience, but she ends up having the most beautiful experience ever. And she becomes this shamanic goddess during the ceremony that's healing everybody. And, I think it really is a part of like your who you are is really that side. And so that's how it started. And then we ended up exploring with other psychedelics, and over the years, always doing it to when we felt like we needed some maintenance, some therapy, or just to explore and expand your mind. So we've been big proponents of it. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the stress of building a company can be so overwhelming. I'm sure you're very familiar with this. So just getting out in nature, being around your guides and a circle of people that you're doing a ceremony with can be such an amazing release. You come back just feeling so inspired and creative, and it's so needed. I like to do it at least once a year. Sometimes you need a little spiritual reboot. I know my sister did that in one ceremony and definitely got it. Yeah.
That's so cool. I hung out with Grandma for the first time in February.
How was it?
It was amazing. It was amazing. In fact, it was so amazing. I'm going back in October with my wife for our wedding anniversary.
Oh, so. I love that. Were you doing it in Costa Rica or here in the United States, or
no?
Where did you do it?
There's a retreat. Some of my friends have a retreat center in Northern California, And so it was, and I did it with, I've been in the CEO Entrepreneurs group for 19 years. And so we do journeys together. And so we started journeying together about 7 years ago. And I was a person that was like, dude, I'm not touching hallucinogenics. And it's because I had a bad experience when I was 20. Yeah. And now to your point, like for me, it's around exploration and just kind of tapping into consciousness and learning about myself and kind of becoming like more connected to my spiritual self. So it can be fun too, right? It can be challenging to your point, Alexis. But yeah, I've learned a lot from it. And I was going to ask you guys, because one of my really good friends, his girlfriend, she's a leader, shaman, or whatever you want to call the person. She does San Pedro journeys. Have you guys ever done that?
Yeah. San Pedro's amazing. Peyote is amazing. We did Bufo during COVID, which was the strongest psychedelic. I don't know if I would recommend it for anyone who's faint of heart. It's pretty intense. That you need a lot of integration, but I think certain medicines call you, where you're at. Like for instance, psilocybin is a little more playful and youthful. Ayahuasca is definitely like a more grounded, bigger kind of energy, like an abuela energy. And then San Pedro is more of that masculine kind of warrior energy. So it depends where you're at and what you're looking for and what you're calling in, but they can be amazing tools. They're medicine, and they're good for your body. They bring down inflammation. They open your mind. You're able to harness that creator energy that every CEO and entrepreneur needs to be able to be inventive. So I'm all for them in the right container.
I really feel like ayahuasca is so similar to doing 10 years of therapy in one session. And what I love about ayahuasca is you don't need a huge hero's dose. You can do a 5 out of 10, work through so much trauma, release trauma. You get so many downloads, leave feeling inspired. You're not tired. You're not hungover. It's good for your body. It's natural. There's just so many positive things about ayahuasca that I love. And for me personally, just really reacts well with my body. That's why I think it's such a good starter plant medicine. And it really is a tool, like my sister said.
Yeah, that's my favorite one out of all of them. Yeah. And I mean, I've done it once and I'm going to do it again. And it's funny, the audience is like, dude, Darius talks about ayahuasca all the time now. And I'm like, because it was profound. It like changed my life in such a good way. So I want to pivot. First of all, I'm so excited that you guys are plant people. So good to hear that. But I want to pivot into the wellness and the health. You guys have, you founded Koa Life and now the Naven method. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think you guys are doing some really interesting work in the way, I mean, first of all, you guys like look amazing. You guys have, really taken care of yourself. You're obviously experts when it comes to health and wellness. Would love to hear like how you pivoted from fashion. It sounded like it happened during COVID, but what you're doing in that world. And I'd love to kind of dig into that, because I think that's a really important and an interesting area that I think people are starting to become hip to, who know what's up.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about longevity and peptides all day long. That's actually all we talk about, honestly. We're slightly obsessed, and I'm sure a lot of your audience is too, because of what they do for the body. But as we mentioned, we grew up athletes, and in that time, they really taught you to push your body, but they did not teach you to recover at all. We just didn't understand really the science behind it, and no one talked about it. So as we mentioned, the burnout and then the little injuries from being competitive athletes, pushing our bodies, like we got to this point, and then of course being out at events and all the things, we got to this point where our body is like, you push me enough, I'm depleted, okay, I'm hitting a wall and I'm stopping. And we both kind of experienced this crazy burnout, and it happened to be around COVID. We both got COVID pretty badly. We were living together, had mold poisoning from our apartment. I ended up getting sepsis, was hospitalized, almost died from it, from a surgery that had gone wrong. And all these things kind of happened at the same time. And I was going to all these doctors and nobody could help me. And doctors are so linear in conventional medicine. It's like I was getting nowhere. And I'm an intellectual person that worked at a cancer research lab. I've been studying science in the body my entire life just on my own, because that's the kind of person I am. And no doctor could help me. They had no solutions. So we just decided to take matters into our own hands and And really also as women getting older, your body, your skin, you start to see these changes and everything slows down, and what's working for you before to keep you healthy and youthful and to keep the weight off and be fit and healthy, they just stop working as well as a woman. And we're 42 now. I'd say our skin, our bodies are better than they've ever been, even in our 20s. But it came from a problem, and then we found the solution because we just like our other businesses, like it was an authentic part of our journey. We were struggling, we couldn't find solutions, no one could help us. So we had a lot of friends that were in the functional medicine space, and we started talking to our friends who were doctors and asking what they did. And we heard about peptides, and we started using peptides and researching them, and it completely boosted our immune system. It helped to heal my skin. It helped to heal with the mold issues. And we started stacking peptides, and we were really doing it, just piecing it together, being guinea pigs on our own at first. And then we started really studying it. We started working with a compounding pharmacy. We had some amazing medical advisors come on board, and we decided to launch our concierge service. So it started as concierge and coaching one-on-one for more high net worth individuals or high functioning individuals like CEOs and C-suites and people kind of like us who were, always on and never relaxing and kind of experiencing the same kind of burnout that we were. And then we decided to bring it to the masses, and we developed this platform that we call the Naven method. And it's really our affiliate coaches and our coaching one-on-one with our clinic, where we prescribe a lot of weight loss and wellness peptides for women and for men, but we really focus on women because our bodies are so complicated and no one's quite figured them out. We vary 25% hormonally every single week of the month. There's so much going on under the hood compared to men that you really need a woman to understand a woman's body. So that's really how it started, was the need to be able to answer questions that we had, and we just weren't getting the help anywhere.
Love that. So talking about, are you guys prescribing like tirzepatide and semaglutide or as for weight loss? Are you guys I know there's lots of different peptides for different, for whatever you're trying to accomplish. When you guys are working with people, are you guys doing blood panel work with them consistently, like every couple of months to, see how they're being affected by the different, prescriptions you're putting them on? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we partnered with Function Health as our testing partner.
Okay.
We love what Jonathan and Mark have done. It's phenomenal. There's 110 plus biomarkers for such an affordable price, and it really allows us to look under the hood and see what's going on. And there's so many different correlations that doctors miss because they either don't have time, or it's not their specialty, or they're just not really looking for it, that you can see from vitamin deficiencies, from inflammation in the body, even from genetic testing that you might miss at a regular doctor. So we always test first when someone comes and works with us on our coaching program, and then we'll recommend food and fitness and then peptide stacks for them. And Kymber is our master at everything fitness related and using food as medicine, also with the peptides, but I really focus on the peptide part. So we do personalized tirzepatide and semaglutides. So everything's compounded at a pharmacy, FDA approved peptides. And depending on what they need, we'll do things to lose weight, to reduce inflammation, to build muscle, to help with gut health. It really depends on the individual. So everything is really personalized. That's why it works, is we're looking at someone's unique biology and what they need. Are they a candidate? How can we help them all around lifestyle and this holistic approach to heal their body? And once healed, how to optimize, because we want to feel superhuman, not just be healed. So we kind of take them in phases.
Yeah, and it's really about the entire picture, the big picture. It's about your lifestyle. You can't just take a peptide and think it's going to change everything. You really need to look at how you're living. Your stress load is a huge part of it. Your sleep quality, the food and the nutrients that you're giving your body so it can run and be optimized properly so that you have energy and you feel vital. And then also, what fitness are you doing at your age? Because it makes a difference how you're working out depending on how old you are and where your hormones are at. So there's really so many different factors that you need to look at. And then how do you create this sustainable program that works for everyday life that you're able to long-term incorporate into your life? So we'll coach them for 3 months, and then they take it and do it on their own. And in addition to that, you want to use peptides as this like cheat code to get you there quicker, to optimize your immune system so that in turn you're losing weight. It's not just take a GLP-1 and that's going to fix all your problems. You really have to look at everything as a big picture. So we customize your life basically for you so that it's running optimally, that you feel really good, that you wake up every morning with energy. And if you're our age in your 40s and you're a woman, you know that is the most important thing, because energy is the first thing to decrease as you get older.
Yeah, and then just
go ahead.
quickly talking about not just the females, but the males too. Like we'll have a lot of male execs or males come to us and they're having issues in bed, like erectile dysfunction, or they're just low libido. And yes, you can give them Cialis or Viagra, but that's not getting to the root cause. Like a lot of times it's lack of nitric oxide. They need to be doing cardio. They need to be putting better fuel in their body. Their insulin resistance is off. They need to modulate sugar and glucose in their blood. You know, there's so many other factors that go into sexual performance. And for guys, it's usually sexual performance or their hair thinning. Those are the two things that usually are the first complaints. So there's a lot you can do before you resort to medications like statins and Viagras and everything else that might not be, you know, that's kind of the next step. But there's a lot you can do lifestyle wise, food wise, fitness wise, peptide wise first to set a good baseline before you go that other route.
And
It's
I think
funny.
one of the, sorry to interrupt you, one of the things
No worries.
I love the most about our method is seeing a client after 3 months and they're just like, oh my God, I didn't realize how bad I was feeling until I felt this good after your program. A lot of them are married, they're in relationships, they have low libido, it's fixed their sex life, their relationship with their partner, they have more energy, they went from being depressed because their hormones are misregulated to feeling this like energetic joy for life every day. And for me, I think that's the most rewarding thing. And I've been there, so I get it. I've been through that. That's why we've started the method. So I absolutely love seeing that. And the same thing goes for men as well.
Yeah, I love that. It's interesting to watch. I have a lot of friends. A lot of our friends we here work with like a functional medicine doctor together. So we who's local here in Austin. This is before the function health thing really took off. And now a lot of the stuff is becoming more mainstream, which is good. And what's funny enough is my twin brother's been doing hormone replacement therapy for like almost like 17 years. So he started doing HRT like in the mid 2000s, just because he identified. So he's always been experimental in that way. And this is way before it was a thing. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of people now. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. But whenever I like, first of all, like we see the prevalence of GLP-1s blowing up in the United States. A lot of people who are not doing they have their kitchens fucked up. They're not eating, right? They're not addressing the other areas of fitness and health, which is exercise, you know, the other parts of, you know, what's your blood health, all the things you're talking about. And I'll see these people, and they're like, oh yeah, I've been on, you know, Mounjaro, or, you know, I'm forgetting the pharmaceutical name for semaglutide, and they're like, yeah, like I just don't eat anymore. And I'm like, that's the worst fucking possible thing you can do. I'm like, you're literally like destroying your metabolic system. And some of these people are people in my family, and I'm like, look, you have to have at least like, you know, 1 gram of protein for every pound of lean body mass. That you have to eat that. And they're like, well, I'm just not hungry. And I'm like, listen, you're literally destroying your metabolism right now. Like don't just because these things make you less hungry or like curb your cravings doesn't mean that that's the answer by itself. That is meant to be a tool to help you achieve these better goals, these bigger goals. And you have to look at this holistically from like a 360 perspective. So I've found myself like lecturing a lot of people when they start like just doing one piece of it, not the whole piece. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on, I mean, obviously you guys have a holistic approach and a perspective that encompasses all these areas, but what do you guys do to make sure that people get that, hey, this is not just around taking a magic pill? Because I think Americans want a magic pill. I'm generalizing us Americans. They just want to be skinny and have the scale go down. A lot of times the scale goes down, it's a bad thing, you know, if you're losing muscle, right?
Well,
so I'd love to hear how you guys think about that.
You're so right. And it's interesting. Like, if people want the quick fix, but the quick fix is not sustainable, it doesn't stick. It's like any journey in life. If it's easy, you win the lottery, you're going to blow all your money. If you don't do the work and put in the work to create this healthy lifestyle, as soon as you stop taking the peptide, you're going to gain the weight back. So it's just not an effective plan. It doesn't make sense. And we don't really ever work that way. There is benefits to fasting and caloric restriction if you're at a certain weight for a certain amount of time. So you have to meet the client where they're at. If they're very overweight, that's going to be beneficial for a short amount of time to get to a better weight. And then you're going to want to focus on your protein intake, making sure you're getting fiber. We always require our clients to be strength training and heavy lifting weekly. So we basically microdose all of these peptides as well for the GLP-1s to make sure that you're kind of modulating some of the side effects of nausea and any of the muscle loss that can happen. And of course, we're putting them on a very extensive protocol and we keep them accountable. We are checking in, we are supporting, we're kind of on them all the time to make sure that they're sticking to the plan. They know that if they're signing up with us, they're investing in them and their health and in this protocol. So we're kind of like cracking the whip, as you will, with our clients to make sure that they're getting their protein, that they're working out at the gym, that they're strength training, that they're building muscle. And we're really monitoring that. We also do DEXA scans and constant testing, and we're looking at bone density and, you know, all of the different types of fats in the body and where they should be from a composition standpoint as well. So we're really doing a deep dive into every single client's health. Kim, did you want to add something to that?
Something that I see so regularly are people that are already in shape and maybe they have 10 pounds to lose. They're taking a really high dose of the GLP-1 and the dose is just too high for your body. So you're losing muscle, you're losing so much weight. There's these side effects like you aren't able to eat, you have no hunger, you're feeling nauseous. So the dose is just too high. If you want to lose a little bit of weight and you want this little cheat code and you're going to incorporate these healthy new patterns into your life, you want to microdose. You don't want to take this huge dose that's like a one shot and it's going to work for everybody. So I think that's something to really keep in mind. I see a lot of people just taking too high of a dose and then you aren't able to mitigate some of these side effects.
Yeah. And also like when you have a pen or cartridge like Ozempic or Wegovy or one of those drugs, it's the same dose for everyone, starting dose, which doesn't make any sense because someone my size versus someone that's obese, they need a different level of GLP and the reserve in their body, the tank of GLP is going to be at a different level. So someone that's severely overweight is going to typically have a lot lower GLP and they're going to need a higher dose versus someone that just needs to lose a little bit of weight. They definitely are going to have like half that tank already filled up. So they don't need as high as a dose. So it comes down to working with a coach that knows what they're doing. It's kind of the wild, wild west. Otherwise, you're going to be testing on yourself. You can get into trouble. It's like any other thing. Moderation is typically the best way to go, but you need to make sure that you're protecting your muscle. Your muscle is your greatest currency. It helps your metabolic health. It helps to excrete toxins and break down toxins in your body. It's going to help with everything. So that's number one as you age, especially if you're over 30 and doing all the things that you can to really preserve that. So we have a food supplement protocol that we put people on. And then of course the fitness to kind of ensure that they're doing it the right way.
And there's some incredible peptides that help you, in addition to working out, help you build lean, strong muscle, especially for women as you age. So incorporating those are really important too. And then making sure you're getting the right nutrition to support any kind of exercise you're doing and you're not just starving yourself.
How do you guys feel about with women doing hormone supplementation, like testosterone, supplementation is part of their like functional health journey?
Hormone therapy can be very protective and restorative for the body, but there's a lot of different schools of thought on when you should start it. A lot of functional medicine doctors are saying that you should start it earlier before you start having symptoms. So before you start transitioning into perimenopause or menopause, because the earlier you take it, the more protective and the more chance you have of kind of getting rid of those side effects later on. So I think it can be a phenomenal tool, but you have to make sure that you're doing it at the right time, because once you do go on it, you typically, if you do go off of it, you're not going to feel good and it does kind of disrupt your hormones. So you're kind of on it for life once you start. And of course, you're going to be tweaking the dosing and tweaking the different hormones over time, pre and post menopause. But you do want to work with, it really comes down to working with the right doctor. It's a little bit hard in perimenopause to pinpoint where a woman is at with their hormones because they're kind of all over the place and they're changing every single day. So you can do a test called the Dutch test, which shows all of the free hormones in your body and your cortisol levels. You can do Function Health. You can do Mira, which shows you your fertility and your hormones every day. But it's just shifting all the time. So you kind of have to work with a doctor who's doing it based on anecdotal experience. So what are the symptoms someone's really experiencing in that, and then work from there to introduce kind of 1 or 2 hormones at a time, and then really get the dosing right. So you really do need about 6 months on hormone therapy to usually get the dosing right. Typically people will start with the progesterone and a low estrogen and then move on to testosterone, but it's different for every single woman. We're super complex. So I think I've noticed that that's the biggest topic right now in longevity is how do we really balance out, if you can, or regulate hormones for women, because it changes your entire experience going into menopause. It essentially gives people a second chance at life if done right. So I definitely am for them. I just think you have to work with the right doctor and you have to do your own research about it and you have to do your own testing. Like really get your baseline as good as you can with every single hormone test first, so you get some kind of picture of what's going on inside your body during this phase where things are kind of all over the place.
Thank you for that. Man, I wish we were nearly out of time. I could probably keep you guys here for another hour and pick your brains. But thank you guys so much for all this input. I want to, obviously you guys are doing a lot of stuff. I want you to educate our audience on how they can learn more about all the different work you're doing. And then you guys ready to do the greatness question.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely if you're into longevity and peptides, you can check out navenmethod.com, and then we're Naven Twins on Instagram and everywhere else on our socials. And then for a peptide infused skincare, it's thatcolife.com. We didn't really talk about it, but we have phenomenal over-the-counter medical grade peptide topicals for skin issues. A lot to do with acne and dark spots and just fine lines and wrinkles that keep you glowy.
Yeah, obsessed with all things peptides.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, we'll go ahead. We're going to put that, and I wish we had gotten to co-life, but we talked about plant medicine. So, it's like, it's a trade-off. So we'll go ahead and put all that stuff in the show notes. So you guys, if you're listening, check out all the different links we put in the show notes, or you can learn more about what Kymber and Alexis are working on in their different businesses. And if you want to learn more about the Naven method, I definitely, myself, I'm not a client of theirs, but I have been doing a lot of this work myself. It's like, it's game changing and life changing. That said, let's move on to the finale. Let's go to the greatness question. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. So what is the number one barrier to creating greatness that you guys have overcome in your life, and how did you overcome it?
I mean, I feel like we touched on it this entire episode, but for me, it was really burnout and overcoming that mindset of me having to do everything all at once and feeling like that was the way I was going to prove that I'm worth it. So getting over that mindset and just allowing myself to nourish my body, nourish my mind, have energy, take care of my body. I think that was number one. As soon as I started to recover and rest and do things that were good for my mental health and regulate my nervous system, I was really able to excel creatively as an entrepreneur. And yeah, I was going through that burnout to really feel that and to realize that.
Do you think we went through the struggle to be able to find the solution for other people? And just one insight, since you already answered the question, is find that mind-body connection as soon as possible, because you can't really have this concept of running off of borrowed chemistry, essentially. That's what burnout is. You have to treat your vessel well, invest in wellness. And when your vessel is running clean, your mind is clear. You can call in, you can be present, you can do all the things you want to do, you can create. And we need that as entrepreneurs to always be in this mode of inventing and creating. So for us, it was really having a vessel that was running clean. And now that we do, it's you can do so much more with it.
Yeah.
I love that. You guys are doing such, what's that? Say that again.
Prioritizing your health always.
Definitely. You guys are doing such amazing work and such interesting work and have such a fascinating entrepreneurial story. Love the twin story. So much gratitude from here at the Greatness Machine having you guys on today. Really appreciate you guys coming on.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Yeah, really fun.
You guys, audience members, please go support Kymber and Alexis in all that they're doing. We're gonna put all the information in the show notes. And I would suggest checking them out on social. They have some really interesting, cool social on Instagram and other social feeds. And until next time, everybody, peace out. We love you.
She's my lover. You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on, so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers, and after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one. She's my lover.